What's happening, everybody? Jeff Lightsey Jr. here with the Black Boss Channel. Thank you guys for the continued support. They can continue to hit the like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we go live uh, all the time. We upload every single day. And this is a big day in sports. A lot is happening today. A lot that some of you may or may not know about. But of course, we've got the start of college basketball is today. Finally, for the basketball lovers in here like myself, college basketball starts today. You have the NFL, what's happening with them and COVID. It looks like the Ravens and the Steelers won't play tomorrow. They were scheduled to play on Thanksgiving Day. They will not play tomorrow. And you have Nick Saban gets COVID again. Apparently, like COVID, the Rona won't leave Nick Saban alone. This is the second time he's gotten COVID. So all of this is happening all on the same day. There's so much. We will start with college basketball. Okay, so college basketball is like one of my favorite sports. College basketball, there's a lot going on, and a lot of the top teams are playing today. That, like I said, it opens the season today, and we will see Kentucky play. We'll see Duke play. Well, Duke's season opener got canceled, but we'll see a lot of the top teams. But the thing about college basketball is it's super weird because the best teams in college basketball this year are look at the top 10. I'm going to show you guys the top 10 in college basketball right now. Now, the top 10 is made up of a bunch of schools most of us don't know or wouldn't expect in the top 10. You got Gonzaga at 1, Baylor at 2, Villanova at 3, Virginia at 4, Iowa at 5. Now, Kansas, we get a blue blood. Kansas at 6, Wisconsin 7, Illinois 8, Duke and Kentucky come in at 9 and 10. Teams like North Carolina are all the way down at 16. It's about in Michigan, which has been pretty good over recent years. It's coming all the way in at 25, right? This is a abnormal. Creighton at 11 preseason. Tennessee doesn't come in until 12. Michigan State is a perennial, a really known conference, a really known team, a really known, well-run organization. They don't come in until 13. Gonzaga, Baylor, and Villanova. Villanova's been good, won a couple national championships in the last 5 years. But outside, and then Virginia was the last team to win a championship. They're at number 4. But outside of that, man, we've got some teams that don't normally play, aren't normally ranked this high. That is a little different. That is something we're not used to. And it's gonna make for an interesting college basketball season. It's gonna be super interesting because, like I said, there are teams that are not normally that good, teams that are not normally ranked that high, and there are low expectations for some of your best teams. I mean, you have Duke in Kentucky, they're in the top 10, but at the bottom, 9 and 10. You have a team like Louisville, who's normally ranked pretty high. They're not even in the top 25. Michigan's at 25. With Michigan State's at 13. North Carolina's at 16. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of that works. I'm really excited the college basketball is here. I'm glad that we finally get to see some of the games again. So it's going to be pretty cool to see how that works. Now, also on the agenda is the Baltimore Ravens game being postponed against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Baltimore was scheduled to play Pittsburgh. They were going to play on Thanksgiving. It was the primetime Thanksgiving Day matchup, and it's canceled or it's postponed until Sunday. And that is because there's some positive cases for Baltimore. Both the running backs are out. Mark Ingram got COVID. J.K. Dobbins got COVID. They're going to play Gus Edwards, and they're just undermanned. They're very undermanned because of the coronavirus, and I think it's fair that they canceled the game, that they postponed the game, because it wouldn't have been fair to send Baltimore out there shorthanded like that. Now, they're still going to be shorthanded, but to not be able to practice is a short week already. To not be able to practice, to not have your players, to have to do all of that in a short week against a team that's undefeated, a division rival, is just not cool, man. That's not fair, and I'm glad that they postponed that game. It just wouldn't have been right to send Baltimore out there against a team that's undefeated, that's rolling right now. Pittsburgh is one of the best teams in the NFL. They have the best record. And so to send them out there against a team like that just wouldn't have been right. Now, sticking with football, we'll go over to college football, and we'll talk about the playoff rankings and Nick Saban getting COVID again. Now, I'm gonna touch on Nick Saban getting COVID again because this is one of the most strange stories in all of sports. So Nick Saban, if you guys don't remember, he was diagnosed with COVID back like a few weeks ago, back before the Georgia game. They said he had COVID back before the Georgia game, but somehow they claimed that was a false positive. So somehow COVID just mysteriously went away. He took another test. It was the quote unquote a false positive, and Saban was able to coach against Georgia. Obviously, Alabama went on to win that game. They kind of blew him out or whatever, and all was good. And now apparently, Nick Saban has COVID again. But this time, they're saying he's showing symptoms and he's got COVID for real this time. Like last time, he was asymptomatic. He didn't really have COVID. We're just going to call it a false positive. But this time Saban really has COVID. This is weird, man. This is super weird to me because last time he got COVID before the Georgia game. It was a really big game. This time they're saying he has COVID. He's showing symptoms. It's before another really big game against Auburn. Something ain't adding up. Something just seems really fishy about that. How in the hell does he get COVID between the two biggest games of the season thus far? Right? He didn't get COVID before Kentucky. You know, they played UK last week and they won by 60 points. And he didn't have COVID that week. But somehow, some way, he's kept the same routine. He's done the same thing over and over. And somehow, some way, he's gotten COVID this week. That just don't sit right with me. Something is up with that. Like something is super weird about that. Like, I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think that's weird or am I bugging? Because that seems very strange that all of a sudden he gets COVID right before they play Auburn. It's just super weird. And speaking of Nick Saban in Alabama, the college football playoff rankings came out last night. There was really no surprise. No surprises. The top four was Bama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Clemson. Those are probably the four best teams as of right now in college football. You can make an argument. Texas A&M was 5, Florida was 6. Now Texas A&M has the head-to-head win over Florida. Texas A&M's only loss is to Alabama, so they're going to be in there in the contentions all the way down to the end. The college football rankings. You have BYU. People from BYU were upset. BYU because the Cougars are 9-0 and the Cougars are beating teams by 30 points. I think the average margin of victory is like 30 points per game. Like they're beating teams by 33. I think it might be 33 points. But I mean, look at this schedule. I mean, this BYU schedule is not impressive at all. Like they have played this season. They played Navy, Troy, Louisiana Tech, UTSA, Houston, Texas State, Western Kentucky, and Boise State. Boise State's the only team in North Alabama. You're not getting a good ranking playing those teams. Like, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to be ranked high playing teams. I'm gonna let you guys see this schedule. I mean, how in the hell can you be mad when you've played this type of schedule? We're talking about Navy, Troy, Louisiana Tech, UTSA. These are Conference USA teams. There's a bunch of Conference USA teams. I cover WKU. I cover Western Kentucky. These are a bunch of Conference USA teams. Houston, Texas State, Western Kentucky, WKU, our school, Boise State, in North Alabama. You're not going to be ranked high off that. And so people were pissed because BYU was ranked at number 14. But no, 14 sounds about right. 14 is a good ranking for you when you playing a soup sandwich schedule. It's just not. I'm sorry. Now I get it. BYU had 5 initially before COVID, before all the Power 5 conferences essentially said you got to play only teams, only conference games. BYU had 6 games scheduled against Power 5 teams. That's 6 games scheduled against Power 5 teams, and that is great. But COVID ruined that. And so they had to put together the schedule that they put together, and people are upset. But, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way it landed. That's what happened. I'm sorry. Like that, and I feel bad for BYU, but it's what's happened, and you're not going to get ranked. BYU's ranked 14. Now, how do I think the college football playoffs are going to shake up? I think Ohio State are going to go undefeated. I think they're going to make it. Bama is the team to watch because Bama is going to have to play this game without their coach. They're going to have to play Auburn without Nick Saban. They're going to have to play an SEC championship game against a Florida or some really good team in the SEC, Georgia again, or somebody good over there on the other side. So that's a team to watch. The way they've set it up is to essentially guarantee that 2 SEC teams are going to get in. And here's why. Because if Bama loses, whether they lose the SEC championship game or they lose a game before the SEC championship game or something, a regular season game. Because they've been so impressive and because they have a track record that is Alabama, the committee is going to give them, because the committee a lot this year is going off eye test. What do you look like? That's why Clemson, even with a loss, they didn't have their quarterback. And even with a loss, they're still in the top 4. They're going a lot off eye test. And you can't tell me after watching games, I don't care if the season ended today, that Bama isn't a top 4 team in the country. Like, you can't tell me that. So there's no convincing me otherwise. So because of that, they are going to get in there. So I think Bama's a lock. Now, one of those other SEC schools, whether it's Florida if they were to beat Alabama in an SEC championship game, or Texas A&M if they win out the rest of their games because they have the head-to-head win over Florida and just happen to lose to Bama, but they win the rest of their games, they're going to end up sneaking in because Notre Dame and Clemson are going to play each other. And only one of those teams are going to get in. Notre Dame won the regular season match, but they're going to, if both these teams win the rest of their games, they win out, they will see each other in the ACC championship game. And only one of those teams will get in the playoff. Only one. Now, this is the initial rankings. A lot of things will change between now and then. A lot of teams will lose. A lot of games will get postponed. A lot of games will get canceled. Like, that's just how it is. That's how college football has been all season. There's not many teams like BYU that have played 9 games or 10 games this year. Like, it's almost virtually impossible. Ohio State, if they handle their business, they will run the table and they'll be in the playoff. So there's not much to worry about in Columbus because Indiana was probably your scariest opponent, right? Indiana and their quarterback throw the ball over the field and get a lot of yards and score a lot of points. Like, they were the scariest team. You survived that. Barely, but you survived. So Ohio State is in good shape. Bama is in rough shape. They're going to have, but I think they'll get in it no matter what. Florida and Texas A&M need some help, but Clemson and Notre Dame is going to knock one of each other out. So that's my thoughts on that. It's a lot going on in the day of sports. I'll continue to update the channel throughout the day. Once again, I'm Jeff Lights Jr. at the Black Boss channel. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button as you leave. Thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys next time.